Hello and welcome back to another episode of Word Wednesday. I'm your host, Paige, and it is so nice to be back and seeing you all. I know we've been gone for a couple weeks, but we are ready to hit it hard again. And of course, I'm joined by Vix Weir. Hi, Vix.
Hi, Paige. I'm excited. So much going on in the silver market and the crypto market and the investigation market. Let's do it all.
Yes. Our word for Word Wednesday is the JP Morgan RICO charges. So first I'm going to get into what RICO means and some history on that, and then we'll dive into specifically the JP Morgan RICO charges. So what does RICO mean? RICO is an acronym for Racketeering Influenced Corrupt Organization. And racketeering refers to the act of acquiring a business operation through illegal activity, operating a business with illegally derived income, or using a business operation to commit illegal acts. And racketeering crimes can be committed at a state or at a federal level. The RICO Act was signed in 1970 by President Nixon, and this was a way to take down mobs like the Lucchese crime family, but later the focus shifted to gangs in the 90s, and since it has now shifted to big banks. So how does the RICO Act work? Under RICO, a person or organization who has committed at least 2 acts of racketeering activity drawn from a list of 35 crimes, which 27 are federal and 8 are state crimes, within a 10-year period can be charged with racketeering. Those found guilty of racketeering can be fined up to $25,000 and sentenced to 20 years in prison per racketeering count. This act lets prosecutors target an enterprise who commits extortion, robbery, money laundering, forgery, etc., essentially prosecuting organized crime. A RICO indictment is proven when the government shows that a member of an organization commits a crime to enhance or further their position in the organization. That is enough to prove a RICO statute. This can affect any organization that is involved with illegal activities, which can include Wall Street organizations, gangs, or anyone involved in illegal activity. So right now, 6 of JP Morgan's traders are under RICO charges. And now that we know a little bit more about what RICO means, JP Morgan was involved in high frequency trading, correct, Bix?
That is absolutely correct.
So high frequency trading is an automated trading platform that large investment banks, hedge funds, and institutional investors employ, and it uses powerful computers to transact a large number of orders at extremely high speeds. These high frequency trading platforms allow traders to execute millions of orders and scan multiple markets and exchanges in a matter of seconds, thus giving institutions that use the platforms an advantage in an open market. So how does this high frequency trading set the price for the metals market? And if it stops, what does that mean for the price of gold and silver and precious metals?
Freedom! Freedom! Racketeering is a big deal, and it's a big deal that the DOJ charged JP Morgan, the largest bank in the world, an extremely regulated institution, because they have the ability to print money out of thin air. But the problem is with JP Morgan, all those things you said that make up a racketeering charge, JP Morgan has done many, many, many times. I mean, there's 151 settlements that JP Morgan has in the last 20 years of that exact stuff, totaling, this is the fee that they paid, $34.5 billion in just fees. In the meantime, they make trillions of dollars by actually exercising their ability to rig markets. So I love it. It will never work. It will never stick. It's a good scare tactic, but what are they going to do? Shut down the biggest bank in the world and watch the derivative bubble melt down? I don't think so.
Yeah. So what happens if JP Morgan gets out of the market? Or do you, I know you kind of said you don't see that happening, but if it were to happen,
If
What
it
would
were
that
to
look like?
happen, I'd be so happy. And I don't even care about that they go to jail for racketeering. And by the way, another feature of racketeering is that the amount of money that's involved that you stole or whatever it is you did, you're liable for up to 3 times the amount that you stole. So JP Morgan stole, I think it was 25 million ounces of gold and 1 billion ounces of physical silver. They would owe 75 million ounces of gold up to 3 billion ounces of silver, because that's what they got by high frequency trading, spoofing the market, pulling trades without even really exercising them. They've been doing this shit for so long. It's really interesting that it's happening now. What I hope it does, I don't think they're going to charge them with it, but I hope it lets us move forward so that all the criminals that were rigging the gold and silver markets in the past are gone. We'll know it right away. The price would jump immediately because the big players won't short into the next rise and play the manipulation game. We'll know it right away. So maybe JP Morgan's removed. I hope so. They should be. But if they're not, I don't think they'd be the riggers. It'd be more like someone like a hedge fund like BlackRock or a different bank. We've seen this silver hot potato be passed around so much. But yeah, they got to do something now because they already said we're going to charge you on RICO charges.
So we planned this Word Wednesday and I did all this research, and then an article came out today. It was released from the US DOJ website, and I'm going to read you guys a little snippet from this, and then Bix and I are going to, Bix is going to break this down for us and explain what is actually going on.
This is live breaking news.
Okay, so JP Morgan Chase & Co., JP Morgan, a New York-based global banking and financial services firm, has entered into a resolution with the DOJ to resolve criminal charges related to 2 distinct schemes to defraud. The first involving tens of thousands of episodes of unlawful trading in the markets and precious metals futures contracts, and the second involving thousands of episodes of unlawful trading in the markets for U.S. Treasuries futures contracts and in the secondary cash market for the U.S. Treasury notes and bonds. JP Morgan has entered into a deferred prosecution agreement, a DPA, in connection with a criminal information filed today in the District of Connecticut, charging the company with 2 counts of wire fraud. So this is a quote from the Acting Assistant Attorney General Brian C. Rabbit of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. And he said, for over 8 years, traders on JP Morgan's Precious Metals and U.S. Treasuries Department engaged in separate schemes to defraud other market participants that involved thousands of instances of unlawful trading meant to enhance profits and avoid losses. And then another quote, and this is from Assistant Director Charles W.F. Sweeney Jr. of the FBI's New York field office. And he said, for nearly a decade, with significant number of JP Morgan traders and sales personnel openly disregarded U.S. laws that serve to protect against illegal activity in the marketplace. So Bix, what does this mean? What is going on? What is this breaking news? And how does it relate to the JP Morgan RICO charges?
Well, we could take that list of crimes, the 151 that they've been found guilty of but paid their way out. We're now at 152, tack on another 920 million. We're in the exact same world we were in. Now, I don't know the full thing. I don't know if traders are going to jail, which they should. But if they do go to jail, why doesn't Jamie Dimon and Blythe Masters go to jail, who were their bosses, who taught them how to do it? 3 of the traders I know has already turned state's evidence and admitted to it. And you go back to the RICO charges. They're guilty. They are guilty beyond belief. And it's, why are they settling? Why don't they lose their banking license? Why aren't they kicked out of the gold and silver market? Why aren't they ending up in jail? I mean, if I go rob a 7-Eleven down the street, I'm going to go to jail. If I do it, how many times? 10,000 times? I'll probably spend a lot of time in jail. Why isn't Jamie Dimon in jail? Why isn't Blythe Masters in jail? These are the same people. And the CFTC, the regulator for the commodity industry, was at JP Morgan at that time checking for manipulation, and they couldn't see anything. The CFTC should be fired, or a criminal investigation into who was it that was at the CFTC. We already know one of the CFTC commissioners, Bart Chilton, said, we knew JP Morgan was rigging the market, but we couldn't stop them because it was a political decision.
If that doesn't tell you something right there, I mean, I don't know what does. Clearly, there's a whole manipulation game being played.
So it won't end. I mean, basically what this tells me is JP Morgan gets a slap on the hand, and they've already admitted they make trillions of dollars in this market. They don't even have to pay $1 billion. It would have been a little nicer if it was $1 billion. But, you know, maybe the underlings will go to jail, but the board of directors isn't going to jail that authorized these trades. That Jamie Dimon isn't going to jail. Blythe Masters, who ran the department, isn't going to jail. They all belong in jail.
And my question with all of this is, you know, these RICO charges, or the RICO Act, was originally made for these mobsters and these gang members that the Justice Department couldn't take down. And so they signed in this act to make sure that anyone involved in racketeering or anything illegal could be taken down. Mm-hmm. And then this is used so heavily in gangs. And the RICO charges is typically what's used to bring gangs down. And they're able to bring gangs of like 120 people down in, I think it was New York. That was the highest record of a RICO charge being used to bring down 120 defendants. Mm-hmm. And you can do that with a gang, but you can't do that with people who are being regulated every single day.
I would say they are a gang.
They're crazy.
A gang. They're a gang that wears
crazy.
They're a suit-wearing gang that lives in rich houses and pays off whoever they need to pay off in political favors or cash under the table or blackmail with pedophilia. They're knee deep in that bullshit too. This is really bad. This is first of all, it's vindication of 20 years of research of mine, screaming, and everybody, Ted Butler especially, has been screaming about JP Morgan rigging the markets, and everybody calling us tinfoil hat wearing crazy people. We're 100% right. 100%, not 99%. 100% correct. And
if you're watching this and you're like, why are you so mad at this? Like, this is just the banking system. This is how it goes on. And like, this is how it's always going to be. It doesn't have to be like that. And it is, these people are unfairly being written off, and they're banks. They can print whatever type of money they want. And other people who, you know, if there's like a gang or a mob family, like, so much more energy would be used to take them down. And then when it's a bank and people wearing suits and ties, it's suddenly forgiven. And we have to start seeing that these banks or these people in suits are like just as bad as these criminal mob families that were in the 20s. Like we're literally living in the 1920s in 2020 now. We still have the same mobs, we still have the same crimes, we still have these same RICO charges that are going on. It's just a different, instead of them being mob families, it's big banks. So that's why all these people are so gung-ho about this and so upset, because there's an injustice here. And I think right now a lot of people are talking about injustices within the system. You want to talk about an injustice? Look at RICO charges and look who actually gets the RICO charges and who should be getting the RICO charges. You'll start seeing the bigger picture here, and it's unfair and it is wrong.
It's a great way to look at it, because it has to do, one, with the color of your skin. 100%. Most of the mobs they go after on RICO charges are either Mexican or in the Black communities. Mm-hmm. The amount of money in those small mobs they go after is nothing compared to the trillions of dollars that JP Morgan and friends do. It is completely racist. And I haven't been a big racist guy. I don't jump up and down about racism. The more I see it, the more I'm like, holy crap. It not only is in our society, it is knee deep in our regulators and our Department of Justice when they're figuring out who to bust on the banker side as well. Look what they did to Reggie Middleton, one of the only really smart, great, amazing business creators who was African American, and they busted him for nothing because he was fixing the system.
And how can they bust someone like that for nothing and then claim, oh, we had no idea that there was anything going on when they're regulating it consistently? It
And it
just
was
doesn't add up. It really doesn't add up.
JP Morgan was under investigation for silver market manipulation the whole time that this was going on for 10 years. There was 3 investigations, big long investigations, where you have an investigator sitting on your desk. Bart Chilton already spilled the beans. They knew. So our CFTC, our Justice Department, is 100% in bed with these criminals. We need to throw the whole gang out. I mean, everybody talks about throwing out Washington. We need to throw out the bankers. We need to throw out the regulators, which are ridiculous. And we need to throw out everybody in government, and we need to start fresh. I'm sick of it. It's bullshit. Everybody should be screaming about it. Everybody. And just think of how many people this has affected. How many people does the US dollar Treasury Department affect? Everybody. How many people invested in silver and gold on planet Earth in the last 10 years? Millions. How many people have mortgages that they paid that JP Morgan was one of the big riggers of LIBOR, which affected your mortgage price? Every single person on planet Earth are being affected by these criminals, and they get to pay $920 million to get out of jail free card? No, this is over. We need to end this or end our government. And I'm getting really close to saying, let's just end our government.
Anarchy.
I'm in the Biden camp now. Let's just go out guns blazing. If someone like JP Morgan can get away with this kind of crime, they won't bust us. Let's go steal everything we can.
I will definitely post the link to the US DOJ article that I was reading earlier. I will make sure to link that in the link tree. So if you want to read about that, I will provide that information. And it's just, the more you really do the research, the more that you look at what minorities are being affected by these types of things, and what high ups are not affected, you see the injustice, and you see that it goes so much deeper than just what we see on the surface level and at the mainstream media level. So Bix, what should people be watching out for in the days to come? Anything with silver, anything with the market manipulation?
Absolutely.
What's your advice on the next couple days, weeks?
My advice is to look very closely at the silver price. Starting on October 1st. October 1st is when theoretically the manipulation ends, and they can't manipulate the markets anymore, because obviously the DOJ they're all over this because they busted JP Morgan and all the other ringleaders. So we should see a freely traded market starting tomorrow, really, but starting this week. We should see the price of silver to go from $25 to $35 to $45 to $65 to $95 to $105 to $300 to $900 to $3,000 in a matter of days. That is a freely traded market if you don't have the criminal mega large shorts back there. If it doesn't do that, we know there's a problem. We know that there's another manipulator out there. And whether it's JP Morgan or BlackRock or the US Department of Treasury, it doesn't matter. We're going to know right away, because we're looking at 150 years of price suppression in the price of silver. It doesn't end pretty. It's going to end, if it is freely traded, and this is the real deal, and they're going to stop manipulation, we're going to see it in the price right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys, or everyone, make sure you watch the price of silver and stay up to date on all of these JP Morgan RICO charges. And just to wrap up, RICO was the acronym for Racketeering Influenced Corrupt Organization, and racketeering refers to the act of acquiring a business operation through illegal activity, operating a business with illegally driven income, or using a business operation to commit illegal acts. And JP Morgan has done all of these. So be on the lookout and do your research. And we will see you back here next week for another episode of Word Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you then. Take care. Bye bye.